We're joined by Stepan, who Jimmy Song just told me a minute ago created the very first Lightning hardware wallet. Welcome, Stepan. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me here.
And how's the conference going for you so far?
Well, great. A lot of maybe I can hold it.
Sure.
Yeah. It's always a pleasure to be on the conference, and the main effect is obviously networking, like meeting lots of interesting people and listening to a few interesting talks, because the topics are pretty broad and maybe some are not very relevant for me, but still. Really awesome, and I'm happy that on this conference, I actually had a talk. So my first talk on the Bitcoin conference.
That's awesome. Man.
That's very nice. Over there we have, Lang, if you could pick that up and show that to the camera, the Cold Card hardware wallet, which is one open source Bitcoin wallet, which currently only works for on-chain. But it's a beautiful hardware wallet, you should really check it out. But where is the main difference, or what are the problems, and why can we not use a standard Bitcoin hardware wallet for Lightning? What problems do we solve here?
With hardware wallets for Bitcoin, you normally store them as far away from the computer as you can, and normally kind of closed in the deposit box and with a multi-signature and so on, and touch your private keys as little as possible. And in Lightning, the architecture is completely different. So if you have to protect your secret for the Lightning network and to kind of keep running the Lightning node, you actually need always to talk to your private keys to the hardware wallet, and always have some feedback from there, and to update the channels, to pay, to receive, to do anything basically. So here the approach is slightly different. In the Bitcoin hardware wallets, we normally just put the keys in there and then they're safe. Here we constantly need to be online and watch the blockchain, see if the channels were closed or not, monitor if other parties are misbehaving and trying to cheat with us, and things like that. So it is much more interactive technology.
So I've talked recently to Nick Bhatia about his idea of the Lightning Network reference rate, and the idea that the amount of money that you get when you lend people your Lightning and they use it and they send the money around, that could be seen as an interest rate, and that you could kind of receive interest for your Lightning. If I put my money in a Lightning hardware wallet, would it still be used on the network, and would I receive this interest or these small amounts of payments when my money's used?
So that's actually the idea. So right now in Lightning we have like 150 Bitcoins, and we have a lot more in cold storages, even though let's say some of them are lost, and people probably don't want to put all of them in there. Sure. But still, let's say I own a few Bitcoins, I probably want to take 10% of them and actually put them onto the network. But to put them on the remote server, let's say I run a Lightning mainnet node on DigitalOcean or somewhere, and like really putting thousands of euros in there and announcing to everyone that this is my IP address and I am trying to earn some money, it's crazy. So instead, ideally, what I would do, I would just run it on the server or on my computer, where all the heavy stuff is happening, like gossiping, communication with other nodes and so on. But if I need to route the payment and collect some fees, this request should actually go to the hardware wallet. It will check that we will get some money, so we only increase in our funds, and then we sign this pair of transactions and we complete the multi-hop. So for that, we obviously need to have a dedicated device that ideally should be much simpler than the Linux computer that we normally use for Lightning.
So essentially you're saying that the 100 or so Bitcoins that are currently on the Lightning Network are all in hot wallets, and they're all kind of advertising that you could come here and steal them, or I have a computer somewhere that's turned on in my house that is running Lightning and that is hosting all these Bitcoins that then could be attacked and stolen.
Yeah, exactly, and I'm really scared looking at that. I mean that Lightning is still in the beta, and you can lose the funds not only by someone coming in and stealing secrets from your server, also because of the implementation bugs and because they're still in beta. But yeah, 150 bitcoins. How much is that? And you can just go browse what nodes are the most connected, how many funds they have. You have their IP address, and you can try to attack them. And if there will be a zero-day vulnerability or something on the Linux system by, I don't know, or even if it is hosted on the VPS, then you can probably use this meltdown for Shadow and other vulnerabilities that allow you to get secrets from the other virtual private server.
Yeah, they say that the Lightning Network is reckless, but they never thought it was that bad, right? Yeah, 150 bitcoins at risk. And that's why we definitely need solutions like this Lightning hardware wallet. What is it made out of? Is it like a Raspberry Pi, a USB stick? And is it for sale, or is it more of just like an initial test product?
So right now we are still working on the prototype, and well, we are in the very beginning. I hope that by the end of the year we will actually have the prototype.
Great.
So it is not a Raspberry Pi, because with Raspberry Pi you already have Raspberry Blitz, and it is actually a full Linux system on top of which you have Lightning node running. So it is a microcontroller based, so it is Cortex M4 currently. We are still thinking about what hardware we actually want to use in that, but the idea is that for microcontrollers it is just a tiny computer that runs a single C program, nothing else. And there is only one communication channel over the USB to the actual host. So the attack surface of the microcontroller is much smaller, and some of them are designed to be very secure even against the hardware attacks. So we are using something like that, and currently we want to make it work with any mbed developer board. So ideally, when we release the codes, anyone can buy a board from stock for $20 or so, not from us, just a general one, upload the firmware, and actually have a hardware wallet for Lightning and Bitcoin. And after that, we will already start working on the actual product that we want to make nicely caged with a large screen, a nice user interface and stuff like that, and maybe earn some money with that.
So can the same hardware device be used for both Lightning and Bitcoin on-chain?
Yeah, sure. So it's not very different, and basically all the Bitcoin functionality is necessary for the Lightning hardware wallet to work. So if you want, you can do the same without any Lightning functionality. You can just do your own hardware wallet that will be reasonably secure on the level of current hardware wallets, and you can also add extra functionality. If you're a developer, you can just include some extra features, like let's say you want to use fancy scripts like time lock, or you want to implement coin join. Yeah, you're welcome to do so. And the idea is to make this hardware available for everyone.
And when you said you're going to release the code, are you going to open source the code?
Yes, yeah.
And that's so it could be so other people can review it, and we can trust that we're putting our money in a safe place, right?
Yes, and ideally we want to work together with Trezor, Ledger, and other guys to develop the protocol for communication with the Lightning nodes, with the Lightning implementations, and I hope that also L&D and C Lightning and the Clear team will join and help us to develop this common kind of interface. So then I hope that soon we will see support of the Lightning on all hardware wallets on Ledger and Trezor also.
So can this be backported to a already existing hardware wallet?
It's a bit hard because if you want a full security for the hardware wallet for the Lightning, you actually need to monitor to parse the blocks a bit. So there one thing that is missing in the current hardware wallet is a real-time clock. Because either you can rely on the third parties, or you need to get the block headers and see if no one closed the channel. Because the bad thing that can happen is when someone closes the channel and then you don't know about that. Your hardware wallet doesn't know about that, and they try to update the channel state by paying to remote node. So this is a little bit hard, but in general it is a minor issue. So even now on the existing hardware we can implement like 90% of the Lightning hardware functionality, and hopefully then we will have new hardware devices that can do everything.
Mm-hmm. And so, of course, a good feature with these hardware devices is that they can be offline, right? They do not have to be connected to the computer, to the full computer all the time. Mm-hmm. So are there some risks that, because of the Lightning hardware wallet, it has to be connected, that some virus or some Trojan can go through the cable and go on this device?
Well, I hope not. I mean that it is a large part of the attack surface, obviously, and you need to design this communication layer in such a way that you don't have overflows or anything. So there is a risk, and I think that you probably don't want to put all the Bitcoin. So it's not a perfectly secure thing, and there is no such thing as perfectly secure hardware wallet or perfect security in general. So there are always trade-offs. So if you want to earn some money with the Lightning on the fees on the routing, the payments, then you have to take some risk. But I think that right now we just taking too much risks just by storing the keys in the plain text on the server.
That might be a slight improvement already.
Especially given the big news with the potential Chinese hardware attack, where they put a chip inside these boards from Amazon and Apple and other companies, where they could just make the password, instead of checking the password database, it just checks to blank. So if you're saying there in plain text on the server and you get server access, all you have to do is copy and paste, and you get to steal the code. And remember, when the hackers steal your Bitcoin or they steal your Litecoin, they steal all your Bitcoin. They steal all your Litecoin. They don't even leave you a couple of Satoshis, to tip the cab driver or anything.
As far as I know, the first thing that any Trojan does when it gets to the server, it checks for any kind of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies wallet. And yeah, so in case of C-Lightning, for instance, the only thing that you need to do is hex dump user folder .lightning slash HSM secret, and then this is 32 bytes that control everything for you.
That sounds secure, right?
Very safe, very safe.
But still, everything is still in beta, so the Lightning is not fully developed, and there will be many improvements going on.
So when running a Lightning mobile wallet on your phone, like Eclair or the Bitcoin Lightning wallet, then you get the option of storing the state encrypted on a drive, like a Google Drive, like Open OneDrive, or the other drives that are out there. So can this also be stored on the hardware wallet?
So the idea is that on the hardware wallet, if it is good enough, then it should store the channel states on itself, so it doesn't rely on any encrypted database somewhere. The problem that Eclair is trying to solve is that if you're using a Eclair wallet and you have Lightning some money in the Lightning there, then if you erase the app and then install the app on another phone, then you keep only your Bitcoin funds, because the state of the Lightning channels are, they just are gone, right? And by backing it up to the Google Drive, you can actually get it back on the new phone. But there are problems, like you can't really run two Eclair wallets with the same database on two different phones, because if you are paying on one of them and then on another one you will close the channel and it still didn't get the latest state of the channel, then you will be punished and you will lose the balance of this channel. But the nice thing about the wallets, Lightning wallets on the mobile, is that they don't have to be online all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just run it whenever you want to pay. But the problem is that then you can't accept Lightning payments, because basically you don't need to monitor the blockchain to see the for the previous channel states broadcasted, because you only send in money. So all other states will give you only more money, so you don't really care.
More money, that's not a problem. Less money, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
So, and with a hardware wallet like this, the cool thing is that you have a real world interaction, right? You have to push the button in order to sign the transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Doing that with Lightning Network and doing like several transactions per second, there's a lot of pushing the buttons. Do we need to have the physical verification of every transaction for Lightning?
So if you want to pay the invoice, so you initiate everything, or you want to open the channel, or you want to close the channel, then you probably want to have a confirmation, because this is what influences your funds. On the other hand, if you're just routing the transactions for others and you're only collecting fees, then why to bother? You can just, the hardware wallet logic should just check that you only gain in some money, and then just sign everything that it needs to sign. So you don't need to push like buttons 100 times per second.
That's good, although I have been practicing at video games, so I'm prepared for that eventuality.
But are you willing to kind of get 1 Satoshi per click? I mean, it's not enough. And as soon as Lightning fees will go even down, because I think that in Lisbon there was a conversation like we need to push the fees on the Lightning even below 1 Satoshi. So like for milli Satoshi, do you want to click that? I mean, it's not very...
I did actually see a great tweet recently. It was from like the Museum of Capitalism or something like that, and it's a big machine full of pennies, and for every 4 cranks you get 2 pennies, and it's an emphasis of like what you actually make when you're making minimum wage per hour. So I wouldn't like to do it, but other people they just might, and it depends what country you're in and so on and so forth. Maybe those 2 pennies are worth a lot to you. But yes, it does sound like not a very fun afternoon clicking that button 1,000 times and so on.
Well, I would just innovate. I would take like an electric drill, I'd plug it into the wrench and push the button and let it spin a lot and lot and lot, and I would get all the pennies. That's what innovation does.
Well, thank you so much for being on, and thank you for your work with the Lightning hardware wallet. Just a general question or two about Lightning. How do you think that it's going as a network? Do you think that it's going to be ready soon, or is it going to be ready now, or what do you think?
I think that right now we at least get some wallets that are usable. I mean, user experience.
iOS would be nice, right? I'm almost to the point of buying an Android device just so I can get on the main net instead of the test net. I've got the Zap wallet. I'm in the test flight. I got testnet Lightning, and I look around. No one has testnet Lightning to work with me. Everyone's on the main net now. They're all bragging about it with their stickers. I can't seem to buy anything with my test coins. But I'm going to have to buy an Android, learn how to use it, which I prefer iOS anyway. Yeah, hopefully we can get all that going, right, the ecosystem. And also I had to run a DigitalOcean droplet. I had to make a little node or something. I ran some Linux commands. I skipped one. The chat was yelling at me, "No, you skipped one. It's a nightmare." Jack Mahlers himself was in. I keep calling him Zach because he should be Zap Mahlers. But Jack was in the chat. He was like, "No, you missed a step." So I even have the developers helping with me, but I got through it. I created the node. I got the testnet wallet, but obviously I don't expect normal people to do that.
Yeah, so for normal people it is still pretty hard.
They don't know the command line. They don't have a chance. It's like,
I would say that in half a year everything can change, and everyone will be using it pretty easily, because Lightning is online still. From January, I suppose. January, I ran my first mainnet node for a few weeks, I suppose.
Yeah.
Then I had some issues with the versioning and kind of updating and so on, so I just dropped that thing. But now, so in a little bit less than a year, many people already running it. Yeah,
That's right.
and I think another half a year and we are good to go.
Another half a year, not bad at all. Is there anywhere that we can learn about this project or follow you on Twitter, something like that?
Currently I don't have any repositories with the code about that, but yeah, follow me on Twitter and I will post there everything that I have and what we are doing and where we are talking and current status of the project.
That's great, and we also know that they live stream your talk on the Paralelní Polis YouTube channel, so people can check that out. They can catch up with that later. They can even go at 2x speed like Max always does. So thank you so much for joining us.
I actually also watch myself by accelerated by factor of 2, so and all other speakers also.
It saves time. It happens more and more. Sometimes people come up to me and they're like, "Why are you talking so slow?" And I'm like, "This is how I talk. I'm used to listening to you on 2x speed. Could you go a little faster?" And I'm like, "This is the best I've got. You know, I got to think first, then I speak." So.
Okay, great. It was
Great.
a pleasure
Thank you
to
so
be
much.
here.
Thank you for being here.
It was a pleasure meeting you, and keep up the good work.
Absolutely.
It really is
Great.
important.
Need your help.